Well, let's get the thoughts on the politics of the day from the political editor of The Sun on Sunday, Kate Ferguson, who's with us now in the studio. Hi, Kate.
Nice to be here.
It's a tough day for the government. 25,000 migrant channel crossings this year, an absolute record, a bad record, despite Labour's crackdown promise. Where does this leave them?
Yeah, I mean, each month brings bad news with our borders, and this is a particularly grim toll. Keir Starmer came in pledging to stop the boats like Rishi did and smash the gangs, but he's totally failed so far. We see those numbers go up and up and up. The PM makes a big deal of these kind of deals he's striking with other countries, these returns deals to deport people. But it is clear, number one, we're not deporting enough people, and number two, there is just not a deterrent. So these boats are coming onto the shores of Dover day after day after day. They're packed and there is no sign of them stopping.
The one in, one out policy was meant to be the great panacea. We've heard very little about it in the last, well, really since it was announced. Is it convincing anybody, do you think, Kate?
No, basically, people will not be convinced until those boats stop, until we see those numbers drastically reduced. So it doesn't matter what deals you strike, what amendments you table to bits of legislation, really how many speeches you make. The proof is in the pudding. This is one of those political scandals and crises which is really visible, right? We see it every day in those pictures of the dinghies filled with migrants. We see it every day with those Deliveroo bikes outside migrant hotels.
And The Sun has been doing some great campaigning on that as well, and
exactly.
getting some movement on that.
A lot of investigative work from my colleagues at The Sun on that. And we see it actually every day in the tax bills we get, which is paying for these huge asylum costs and hotel costs. So until the numbers change, they get absolutely slashed. No one will believe what their politicians tell them because, to be fair, we've all heard it before. You
talked very specifically there in regard to the asylum issue in the Home Office, sparking fury after emerging in Waterlooville that, this is around Portsmouth, that they're secretly plotting to relocate 35 asylum seekers to a brand new apartment development there. The flats themselves costing something like £250,000 each. I just want to play you a clip now of one of the protesters of what he was saying last night, and then we'll get Kate's reaction to this. This was a huge protest, over 1,000 people there. Let's just play the clip of what the protester was saying.
We did not consent to them and we did not vote for them. This action to house illegals in Waterlooville is about as undemocratic as it gets. We demand the deportation of every illegal migrant.
So that was in Hampshire last night. We've seen quite a number of these protests popping up. That was a particularly large one. We spoke to George Madgwick, the Reform UK councillor, who was there. Will the government and the Home Office be taking notice of this, Kate?
Well, they'll certainly be taking notice. It obviously is a worrying trend for them that you're seeing these protests starting to emerge outside migrant hotels. The reality is it's very hard to know what they can do. So while you're still getting those big numbers coming over, you've got to house them somewhere. They're under a kind of legal obligation to house them. So there's migrant hotels being filled up, or apartment blocks being filled up, or we're seeing increasing numbers move into kind of HMOs on people's streets, which is
social housing.
Yeah, another big scandal waiting to erupt. I mean, it's clear that it's becoming a kind of hotbed of resentment for a lot of people in this country. It's not just about it's not just about social cohesion and how can you integrate these numbers, but it's clear that among quite a lot of the British public, there's just not the buy-in to have this number of asylum seekers and migrants coming over to the country.
Thanks to Nick, he says the problem of immigration will be exactly the same in 20 years as it is today. No politicians have the will or courage to do anything to resolve it. Lawyers and the judicial system run the country. They're happy with how life in this country is because it doesn't affect them. Britain as we knew it is finished. Life will become more difficult and at times more violent. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. And that is just absolutely typical of so many messages that are coming into this building. If you want to make your voice heard, 0344 499 1000. Kate, while I have you, let me ask you about this story in regard to Keir Starmer and this possibility that it could be actually breaking international law. The front page of the Times today, Palestine vow breaks law, claim top lawyers. We've just spoken to Arlene Foster about it, Baroness Foster, former First Minister of Northern Ireland, who is one of the signatories. Tell us what you think about this. Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, of course, big fan of the Palestinian cause. Will he listen to them?
I mean, this is kind of a story almost steeped in irony. So Keir Starmer, our great human rights lawyer and Prime Minister, supported by, you point out, our Attorney General, Lord Hermer, another vehement fan of international human rights law, often to their criticism. Well, here, Keir Starmer's been told by other lawyers, your pledge to recognise an independent state of Palestine in September could actually fall foul of international law. So it's kind of maybe the most damning things you could tell Keir Starmer as a former lawyer himself. I mean, I think this starts to puncture the kind of problem around Keir Starmer's position. So he said Britain will recognise Palestine as an independent state unless Israel sign up to various things in the coming months, so a ceasefire, a peace process. Very unlikely that's going to happen. There's no incentive for Hamas to sign up to that, so we're expecting Britain to join France in recognising Palestine as an independent state. But the question that these lawyers are quite rightly raising is, what does that mean? We don't know even the territorial borders of the state, which is disputed. You know, who runs the state? So the West Bank of Palestine is run by something called the Palestinian Authority, run by an organisation called Fatah. But Gaza, which has been what all the stories have been about lately, and those images of famine and things, that's run by Hamas. So, you know, we don't even have a single government, a single territory, any agreement of what a state looks and feels like. And that's the problem with this state recognition, is it feels like empty gesture politics.
Just a quick word before you go on nurses threatening industrial action. This is after rejecting a pay increase. We know the junior doctors have been on strike for 5 days over last weekend. Where are we with this, Kate?
Yeah, I mean, look, your listeners will be used to this now. More medics going on strike. We've had the junior doctors out on strike. Now the nurses are threatening to go on strike. They've rejected, or they're balloting for a strike over a rejection of a 3.6% pay deal. Look, Wes Streeting and the government have been quite clear. They have chucked money at the NHS. We've all been clobbered with higher taxes to pay for it, but the money is running out now. There's no money for these big new pay demands that are emerging. The danger is that one trade union after the other in the NHS follow each other and start leading their medics out on strike, and that would leave waiting lists in a terrible place, all of ours needing to get doctor's appointments in a terrible place, and it would be a real hammer blow to the government, who've basically staked their entire political credibility on turning the NHS around.
Kate, thank you. That's Kate Ferguson there, who's the political editor at The Sun on Sunday.